If you're living a life you don't truly desire, don't look for reasons in your circumstances, your past, or other people. Look directly at what silently operates behind every action, every choice, and every outcome: your thoughts. The life you're living is an honest mirror, reflecting what you've once believed was possible, what you've repeated in your mind thousands of times without realizing it. Thoughts are not floating jokes in the head. They are real forces, structured, directed, and full of energy. They are alive, creative, and if sustained long enough, they become matter. You are the result of the thoughts you have nurtured. No one has ever become wealthy without thinking of wealth as something natural. No one has ever made a major life change while still holding on to the same old limiting thought patterns. The only thing that separates you from every dream you've ever had is not circumstance, not age, not starting point. It's a thought that was never clearly formed. A vague thought filled with hesitation and doubt will never have the chance to produce results. But a clear, unwavering thought, repeated with burning desire and persistent action, is the first seed of any achievement you've ever dreamed of. You can approach life like a beggar chasing luck, or like a mastermind designing your own destiny. The difference lies in how you think. A beggar believes value comes from the outside, from bestowed opportunities. A person in control of their fate understands that mindset is what opens all doors. Never underestimate the power of a single thought. When you repeat the same idea every day, it becomes the operating system of your subconscious. Once it's embedded deeply within, it quietly governs every behavior, every decision, every reaction, even when you're not aware of it. And it's those small things that shape your actual life. The sad truth is, most people don't live by their own thinking, they live by reflex. They don't think, they react. They repeat thoughts passed down from previous generations about limitations, about fear, about truths that no one ever questioned. They repeat their parents' doubts, their teachers' restrictions, society's criticisms, and they think that is who they are. But you don't have to live that way. You have the right to choose again. You can pause, observe the thoughts that are driving you, and ask a powerful question. Is this really how I want to think? Does this thought serve the person I'm trying to become? If the answer is no, then you can begin today. You don't need to change the whole world, you just need to change the way you speak to yourself. A wealthy person does not think about lack. A strong person does not think about being defeated. A confident person does not see rejection as an end. It all begins with one choice: to think like the person you want to become, and then repeat that thought long enough, clear enough, and powerfully enough for it to become your internal operating system. Thoughts are not just tools for understanding, they are tools for creation. When you think of abundance and believe it with emotion, you begin to act like someone who is abundant. You make decisions differently, you communicate differently, you choose different companions, and from there, results change. What people call luck is really just the result of a thinking system that has been nurtured long before. Luck doesn't randomly fall on your head. It is created from within through mindset, emotion, and consistent action. If you still doubt this, take a look at yourself. Reflect on how you've been thinking about money, about yourself, about the future over the past years. Be honest. Have those thoughts helped you move forward, or have they kept you stuck in the same loop? Procrastinating, fearing, hoping, and then getting disappointed again. If you want different results, you cannot keep the same old thinking. Every thought is a silent command sent to the subconscious, and the subconscious, as powerful as it is, only obeys. It doesn't distinguish right from wrong. It simply absorbs what you repeat often enough with strong emotion. And then it will do everything it can to align the outside world with the program you've installed inside. You don't need extraordinary talent. You don't need a perfect starting point. You only need the discipline to choose the right thought and repeat it every day. When you change the way you think, you're rewriting your own source code. And when the source code changes, behavior changes. When behavior changes, results change. It all begins from within. It all begins with the way you talk to yourself. Start today. Write down a clear affirmation about the person you are becoming. Read it every morning. Feel it as an unshakable truth. Repeat it at night before bed when the subconscious is most open to deep impressions. You're not repeating it because you doubt. You're repeating because you are building. And when you build the right way, each brick of thought becomes the foundation of a new life. Powerful, free, and prosperous. It's all in your hands, or more accurately, in your mind. Do you remember a time when you wished for something so deeply that the whole universe had to hear it? Maybe it was an unfinished dream from your 20s, a desire that time has never erased, or a goal you've been quietly nurturing for years but never dared to say aloud. If so, try commenting, "I'm ready, so I know you're here," and that truly makes me happy and grateful. And if you simply press like in silence, that presence alone is also a priceless gift to me. Thank you for spending your time here, walking alongside a journey not just about success, but about the return of a long-forgotten aspiration in your heart. No achievement ever begins in hesitation. Every powerful beginning is marked by a firm, non-negotiable declaration. Edwin C. Barnes may be a name you've never heard, but his story is living proof of this principle. He didn't go to Edison looking for a job. He arrived with a declaration. I will become his business partner. Imagine someone with no money, no connections, just one wild thought, daring to travel thousands of miles to make it real. But because he didn't negotiate with his goal, destiny didn't negotiate with him either. Big aspirations don't come from half-heartedness. They don't accept phrases like, "let's give it a try," or "it would be nice, but it's okay if it doesn't happen." Big aspirations begin when you look at what you want and declare with your entire being, "I will achieve this." No backup plan. No exit route. Just one direction. Forward. Barnes' story is a reminder that if you want something badly enough, to the point that you can't sleep without it, the whole world will step aside to make way for you. What causes most adults to lose their sense of aspiration is not a lack of ability. It's that life has trained them to negotiate with themselves. They've learned to extinguish their inner fire with reasonable excuses. They've become used to saying, "Now's not the right time. I have a family now. I can't take risks. I'm not young anymore." But success doesn't care how old you are. It only cares whether you have the courage to declare what you want and act as if it's already destined. True aspiration is not a fantasy, it's a form of living energy. When you fuel it with commitment, it calls forth opportunities you couldn't previously see, just like Barnes, who worked in Edison's factory for months unnoticed until the opportunity appeared. And because he was ready, he seized it and turned that first-day declaration into reality. I'm not asking whether you have dreams. I'm asking if you dare to declare them. Do you dare to stand in front of the mirror and say out loud what you want most? Do you dare to write it down, commit to it, and act each day as if you have no other choice? If yes, then you've already begun to build a new gravitational force in your life. And if you're still reading this, perhaps you're more ready than you think. Success doesn't come from lukewarm thoughts. It comes from burning souls that dare to choose one thing and go all the way with it. Don't let the silence inside you fool you into thinking you're safe. That silence is just a small box trapping a big aspiration that's been asleep. And just once, if you declare what you want clearly and without hesitation, that box will shatter and your life will start moving in ways you never imagined. Comment, "I'm ready," if your heart is nodding right now. Because sometimes a single line of text is the first step to stepping out of old limits. And if you're here, reading these words, I want you to know that I am deeply grateful. Because you are the reason I write these things. Your quiet presence, or even a single like, is enough to make every effort worth it. Remember, the world doesn't belong to the more talented, it belongs to the more ready. And readiness always begins with one thing: a non-negotiable declaration. Without clarity, there is no beginning. That is one of the fundamental truths deeply understood by anyone who has ever created great achievements. Every accomplishment, big or small, begins with a desire that is clearly defined, not vague, not waiting for someone else's approval. That desire is not a fleeting emotion nor a wish uttered casually. It is a decision established with inner commitment. As long as you don't know exactly what you want, don't be surprised when life keeps sending you in circles, governed by randomness, by circumstances, by other people's agendas. Because if you don't define your destination yourself, don't expect to arrive where you truly want. Clear desire is the strongest psychological anchor a person can possess. It is a source of motivation that doesn't need reminders. A guiding light when you walk through the darkness of uncertainty and doubt. Someone with strong and clear desire needs no external push. They push themselves every morning. They don't need encouragement. The vivid image of the outcome is enough to make them rise after every fall. And most importantly, the clearer the desire, the higher the capacity for action. When you know exactly what you want, every step is guided by an internal compass. You know when to say no. You know when to persist. When to adjust your strategy, not because you're smarter than others, but because you have clarity, something most adults have lost amidst countless rules and expectations. The difference between successful people and those who merely get by is not talent. It's the degree of clarity in their desire. People who drift through life often say, I want a better life. I want to be rich. I want to be happy. But those are formless wishes. You cannot achieve what you've never defined. You cannot hit a target that was never drawn. In contrast, someone with clear desire says, I want to earn 200 million VND per month through my business within the next 18 months. They know exactly what they want, what it looks like, when it will happen, through which path, and what they're willing to trade for it. This specificity creates an invisible pull, making the entire mind and all actions begin to align with the outcome already envisioned. Clear desire is also a declaration of commitment, not just commitment to a goal, but commitment to oneself, that you will not settle for less than what you truly deserve. If you've never seriously defined what you want, you'll easily be swept away by ideas like, this is enough, or this'll do. Then you fall into a state of quiet resignation. Still working, still busy, still trying, but with no destination. There is nothing more painful than waking up each morning not knowing what you're living for. A person without a clear goal is more prone to depression or internal burnout because they have nothing to look forward to, nothing to chase with all their heart. Every great construction of life, whether it's a career, a relationship, health, or spiritual values, must begin with a specific question. What exactly do you truly want? That question may seem simple, but it's one of the hardest to answer, because most of us only know what we don't want. Not to be poor, not to be lonely, not to fail. But not wanting doesn't create momentum. Only when you identify what you truly want in specific language, vivid imagery, and honest emotion will your entire mind begin to function like a machine moving toward it. Clear desire doesn't come from fleeting thoughts. It comes from deep inner observation, from silent hours of self-digital, and from the courage to admit what you truly long for, even if it scares you or makes others laugh. Because not everyone is brave enough to want something truly. Most people choose moderate dreams to avoid disappointment, safe goals to avoid, and then they spend their lives stuck in the middle, never failing completely, but never reaching anything grand enough to make them feel it was all worthwhile. Don't let that happen to you. Begin with a blank sheet of paper, write down what you want, the clearer the better. Use specific words, specific numbers, specific timelines. Don't just write what you want to achieve, but also what you're willing to trade for it. Because a desire without commitment is just a fantasy. And more importantly, read it every day. Each morning before the day begins, each night before sleep, let that desire soak deeply into your subconscious and begin reshaping how you think, act, and make decisions. A mind led by clear desire will automatically reject anything that doesn't serve its goal. It becomes sharp in choosing, agile in responding, and strong in commitment. The clearer the desire, the more focused the action. The more focused the action, the more certain the results. And when results start to appear, you'll understand there is no such thing as luck. There is only clarity that was planted in advance. Every achievement begins with one clear decision. I want this, and I will do whatever it takes within the bounds of my values to achieve it. When you dare to define that, you've already walked halfway. The other half is daily consistency in reaffirming your desire through concrete action, unwavering resolve, and unshakable belief. Achievement does not come from inspiration, but from steadfast commitment to a desire clear enough to lead you through all circumstances. And that you can begin today. No one reaches their destination through dreams alone. A desire, no matter how intense, if not transformed into a plan and concrete action, is nothing more than an echo in the mind. What allows an ordinary person to achieve extraordinary results doesn't lie in momentary willpower, but in their ability to organize thoughts, emotions, and actions into a repeatable system, unwavering from the goal. The 6 steps below are not just a formula. They are an internal operating principle that has helped thousands turn the impossible into possible. And if you are truly serious about your desire, start with this very first step. Step 1, clearly define the exact number or result you want. No vagueness, no rough estimates. Say what you want with precision. If you want to be wealthy, you must write, how much do you want? A specific amount in cash. Within how much time? An unspecific desire is a dying desire. Your mind can only mobilize its full power when it clearly understands what the goal looks like. For example, instead of saying, I want more money, write, I will have 5 billion VND in the next 24 months. This isn't superstition. It's because the human brain works like a radar. It needs clear coordinates in order to guide accurately. Step 2, clearly define what you are willing to give up to achieve it. This is the part most people skip, and it's also why they fail. Nothing comes from nothing. Every achievement demands a trade-off: time, energy, old habits, or temporary comfort. If you're not willing to pay the price, it means you don't truly desire it. Write it down. How many extra hours per week are you willing to work? Which habits are you ready to give up? What are you willing to learn? How long are you willing to endure uncertainty? The trade-off is your commitment to yourself. And the universe only responds when you demonstrate a commitment deep enough. Step 3, set a specific deadline. Achievements don't come to those who do it when they have time. A deadline creates positive pressure. It pushes you to act, reorganize your time, and view everything with greater urgency. If you want results in 2 years, break it down into phases. What must be done in the first 3 months? What should be achieved by month 6? A goal without a deadline only leads to procrastination masked as ambition. And procrastination, as you know, is the sweetest killer of all dreams. Step 4, write out a specific action plan and begin immediately, even if you're not ready. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for all conditions to align. Write down every small step you need to take and begin with the simplest action. If you want to start a business, your first action could be researching the market. If you want to increase your income, the first action could be rewriting your skills and identifying what value you can offer someone right away. The moment you take action, even a small one, you shift energy from imagination to reality. And only when you start walking does the path begin to appear. Step 5, write a short, concise declaration that includes your goal, your timeline, what you're willing to trade, and your action plan. This is the life and death pact between you and yourself. It needs to be written in powerful language without hesitation, like an oath of honor. Example, I commit to having 5 billion VND within the next 24 months. I will give up my evening rest time, wake up early each day, learn new skills, and start selling online this month. I will take daily action with discipline and unshakable belief. This declaration should make you tremble when you read it, not out of fear, but because it touches the most serious part of who you are. Step 6, read that declaration twice a day, once in the morning when you wake up and once before bed. Repeat it with full emotion, not mechanically. Visualize the result as if it has already happened. Feel it as if it is occurring now. See every detail vividly, and let the emotion rise as if you were living in that result. This is not empty imagination. It is the process of reprogramming your subconscious. Each time you repeat it, you are feeding your belief, and belief is the catalyst that turns all actions into enduring and precise effort. These 6 steps don't require genius. They don't require favorable conditions. They don't require anyone to help you. They only require discipline and honesty. Honesty with your true desire, discipline in maintaining the habit of consistent daily action. No one can do this for you. No one can realize your dream but you. But if you truly practice these 6 steps with enough commitment, what once seemed impossible will become inevitable. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You just need to begin. With a clear desire, a non-negotiable decision, and a specific action taken today. Step by step, day by day, your desire will begin to come alive, grow bigger, and turn into a reality you once thought only existed in dreams. And in that moment, you will understand. There is no such thing as luck. There are only those who are clear enough, brave enough, and persistent enough to turn desire into reality on their own terms. Belief is not a random occurrence. It doesn't appear just because you happen to hear an inspiring quote, nor does it come from a fleeting moment of motivation when life feels temporarily easier. Belief is a psychological structure, deliberately built and maintained through discipline. People often assume that successful individuals possess some mysterious force, an invisible power that keeps them from ever doubting themselves. But the truth is, they have doubted, they have been confused, they have been disappointed, just like anyone else. The difference is that they train their minds to believe instead of waiting for belief to arrive. Belief is not a miracle. It is not something you sit around waiting for until you feel strong enough or feel ready. You don't wait for the feeling, you create the feeling. And you create the feeling through intentional, repeated actions every single day. When you continuously reinforce a thought in your mind, whether positive or negative, it will eventually become a belief. That's how the brain works. It doesn't judge right or wrong. It simply remembers what you repeat the most. So if you constantly repeat thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, I was never given a chance, then don't be surprised when you find yourself unable to move forward. You don't lack ability. You're just misprogramming yourself. Mental discipline begins with awareness. Every time a negative thought arises, you don't let it pass by unconsciously. You stop and ask, does this thought serve my goal? If it doesn't, you replace it, not with a hollow affirmation, but with a new choice. I'm not good at this yet, but I'm learning every day. I've failed before, but I'm no longer the same person. You don't have to lie to yourself. You just have to be honest that you are in a process of change. And change only has meaning when it begins within the mind. Each morning you must reprogram yourself. Before the world floods in with news, social media, or other people's words, you must be the first to speak to yourself. Reread your goals, reread your declaration. Close your eyes and visualize the result you desire. Feel that certainty as if it's already happening. That practice, if repeated for 30 days, will begin to imprint on your subconscious, and once something has entered your subconscious, you no longer need to try to believe. You simply believe. The power of belief doesn't lie in grandeur. It lies in how it permeates the smallest actions. Someone with strong belief doesn't do great things differently. They do small things with a different spirit. They send an email with high expectations. They make a phone call with a clear, confident voice. They walk into a meeting without looking away, not because they know the outcome for sure, but because they believe in themselves, believe in the process they're following, and believe in the value they bring every single day. Belief is also the foundation of perseverance. When you encounter obstacles, when there are no results, when everything is moving slower than expected, it is belief that keeps you from giving up. But the important point is this: belief in hard times doesn't appear magically. It only shows up if you've been practicing daily beforehand. Like muscles, no one lifts heavy weights if they've never lifted light ones. Belief works the same way. It must be trained in normal times, so you can use it when the abnormal strikes. Remember, you don't need to believe 100% in the outcome from the start. You only need to believe 100% in your ability to take daily action. Belief doesn't require perfection. It only requires that you don't give up. Every time you wake up a little earlier, every time you complete a task, even a small one, every moment you choose persistence over quitting, you are adding another brick to the foundation of belief. And those bricks, over time, will become a fortress within you. Don't let others decide the level of your confidence. Don't hand over that power to anyone, not your parents, not your boss, not society. You are the only one who lives with yourself 24 hours a day. If you don't believe in you, no one else can do it for you. And belief doesn't mean thinking you're great. Belief means knowing you're not perfect, but committing to improving without stopping. Belief means you've made the decision to show up, and nothing, not even fear, is allowed to stand in your way. Lasting change begins when you stop waiting for inspiration and start consciously building belief. Every day is another opportunity to choose. Choose empowering thoughts over limiting ones. Choose action over overthinking. Choose rising over complaining. These choices, small, consistent, deliberate, are mental discipline. And that discipline, not your circumstances, will shape your destiny. No one is born full of belief. The people you admire, they've also been afraid, also doubted, also stepped back. But they didn't stay there. They returned, retried, rethought, and told themselves something better every day. And you can do that too. You don't need to wait until you're strong enough. You only need to begin today with one right thought, then a second, then a third action. And then you'll see what you once thought was magical belief is actually the very logical product of a mind trained with discipline. Everything you're experiencing today is a direct reflection of the frequency your mind is constantly broadcasting. You don't live in the world as it is. You live in the world as you think it is. Your thoughts are invisible waves spreading through the space around you, attracting circumstances, people, opportunities, or failure in accordance. The crucial truth is, you can't turn off the signal. You're always broadcasting it, whether you're aware of it or not, whether you want to or not. You can test this very easily. When you walk into a room with a positive mindset, your eyes will look different, your voice will sound different, your body language will shift. Others will pick up on that, even if you say nothing. Conversely, if you carry fear, anxiety, or silent doubts you haven't even named yet, those too will automatically be transmitted. And the world doesn't respond to what you wish, it responds to the signals you send. The mind is not an empty box waiting to be filled. It is a sophisticated broadcasting device, simultaneously receiving and transmitting non-stop. Every time you repeat a negative thought, you are amplifying a distorted signal. Every time you whisper in your mind, "I can't do this. I'm not good enough. This is probably going to go wrong." You're turning those words into an invitation sent to reality. And the strange thing is, life often replies. If you pay attention, you'll notice that successful people have one thing in common. They don't let their minds broadcast randomly. They train themselves. They filter their thoughts. They refine the language they use, even in private inner dialogue. They don't allow themselves to say, "I'll try." They say, "I'm doing it." Not "I hope," but "I commit." Not "if I'm lucky," but "when I achieve it." They understand that words are signals, and strong signals create strong trajectories. This doesn't mean you must always think positively in a naive way. It means you must broadcast intentionally. Some people constantly think, I'm someone who always runs into trouble, and guess what? Trouble always finds them. Some people always think, I never have enough time, and indeed, they're always out of time. The question isn't, why does this keep happening to me? It's, what was I thinking that made this repeat? The frequency you emit doesn't come from the words out of your mouth. It comes from the emotions you carry inside. If you act out of fear, even if your words are positive, the universe still picks up the fear-based frequency. If you're working hard but secretly doubting yourself, you're broadcasting a conflicted signal, and results will come slowly, inaccurately, or not at all. You can't trick frequency. You can only retrain it. To do that, you must start by cleansing your mind. Each morning, before checking your phone, check your mental frequency. What are you carrying over from yesterday? Is it disappointment, anxiety, or pride because you stayed persistent one more day? Take 5 quiet minutes, breathe deeply, and consciously choose the signal you want to transmit today. If you want to attract opportunity, feel gratitude, as if you already have it. If you want to attract stability, imagine yourself having already overcome that challenge. Not to live in illusion, but to calibrate your signal. You must also monitor your internal language throughout the day. When something goes wrong, how do you react? Do you blame yourself, or do you ask, what's the lesson here? When someone rejects you, do you think, they don't need me? Or, I just learned how to better improve the value I bring. Those small reactions, repeated over time, form the default broadcasting pattern of your mind. And that default pattern determines what you attract. The mind is like a magnet. It doesn't attract what you want. It attracts what you match. If you want success, you must emit the signal of someone already living in success. In mindset, in calmness, in how you interpret failure, in how you treat others. And that's not pretending. That's training. You don't have to be perfect. You only need to be aware enough to choose a new thought the moment you realize your frequency is off. Try imagining each day as a song you're composing. Each thought is a note. If you let your thoughts drift into worry, self-doubt, or criticism, the song becomes chaotic and sad. But if you choose each note with care, filled with hope, perseverance, and understanding, you are composing a symphony. And you are the first person who must live inside that music before anyone else can hear it. No one changes their life by adjusting the outside. Every personal revolution begins with the broadcast signal inside your head. Don't let your mind be governed by old habits. Don't let your default frequency drag you back into your former self. You can choose again. Choose what you think, choose what you say, choose the emotions you plant, and then, gradually, bit by bit, you will see the world hasn't changed. You changed the frequency. And the results are just a natural response. There is nothing mystical about attraction. There's only you and your mind constantly transmitting a signal in every moment you live. When you tune your inner world, you'll see the outer world begin to move in ways you never imagined. And that is when you'll understand the mind is not just a place for thought. It is the most powerful reality-creating machine you've ever owned. Amidst all the noise, where everyone tries to speak more, explain more, prove themselves through words or surface-level results, there exists a kind of intelligence that says nothing, yet is always present and observing. It doesn't come from logic. It doesn't come from analysis. It doesn't come from education. It comes from within, from the deepest stillness of a mind that has stopped reacting. And do you know what that is? That is the sixth sense, where intuition meets a clarity beyond words. The sixth sense is not something mystical. It's not reserved for the special or the spiritual. It's a natural part of the human sensory system, and it functions most powerfully when you learn to be silent at the right moment. When your mind is no longer driven by automatic reactions, no longer obsessed with having to understand or explain everything, you open up a space where intuition can speak, not loudly, not dramatically, just a clear knowing, impossible to explain, yet impossible to deny. There are moments when you walk into a room and sense that something is off, even though everything looks perfect. There are times you meet someone and within seconds you know whether or not to trust them. There are important decisions that you later realize it was that first feeling, not the data, advice, or reasoning, that was right. That's not coincidence. That's the sixth sense. And it only appears when you dare to trust silence. In a world that exalts rational thinking, you're taught to analyze everything, compare options, plan backup strategies. But there is a form of knowing that doesn't come from analysis, it comes from resonance. It's when you're no longer thinking, but you know. You're no longer asking, you feel. And that feeling, when practiced enough, becomes a form of intelligence that guides you. Not through words, but through energy. Those who succeed sustainably are often not the most knowledgeable, but the ones who feel what the right move is. They can hear what's happening behind words, see what hasn't appeared to the eye, and know when it's time to act or to hold back. This isn't innate. It's the result of an inner life that is deep enough, clean enough, and quiet enough not to be distorted by external noise. To awaken the sixth sense, you must learn how to clear your mind. No one hears the voice of intuition in a room full of static. Every stray thought, every unnamed fear, every unconscious reaction is a layer of dust covering your most refined perceptive power. You can't touch your deep intelligence if you are constantly caught in the spiral of worry, comparison, competition, or judgment. Try setting aside a few minutes each day for silence. No phone, no talking, no thoughts desperately searching for answers, just presence. Listening to your breath, listening to the voice within. At first, the silence may feel uncomfortable because you're used to living in restlessness. But if you stay with it, you'll begin to notice. Within that silence is a voice. Not from your brain, but from your heart, and that voice is never wrong. Intuition doesn't deny logic, it simply transcends logic. When everything seems reasonable but something still feels off, that's the moment to stop and ask deeper. When the whole world says you should do something but inside you feel no, don't dismiss it too quickly. It might be your intuition speaking, protecting you from a misaligned path. And you can only hear it if you respect yourself enough not to force yourself to go against what's true for you. The intelligence that arises from silence is also where you connect with unexpected solutions. When you're no longer forcing, no longer resisting, no longer pressured to figure it out, a space opens and clear ideas come on their own. Just as only still water can reflect the sky, only a peaceful mind can perceive truth. The sixth sense is not a weapon for every situation, but it is a compass for those moments when you stand at a crossroads and every choice seems equally logical, and you must decide not just with your head, but with full body alignment between your mind and heart. When you've practiced long enough, you'll find that some decisions may seem to go against the current, but they lead you to exactly where you're meant to be, because intuition doesn't follow the logic of the world. It follows a deeper order within your soul. In silence, you don't just find your inner voice, you find yourself. Not the version shaped by social expectations, not the person playing multiple roles, but the original self, clear, steady, and deeply guided. That self has always been there. It's just that until now, you haven't been quiet enough to see it. So begin to listen again, not to reply, but to understand, to feel, to connect. In a world that screams, the one who knows how to stay silent holds the greatest influence. And within you, if you're brave enough to return inward, there already exists a kind of wisdom like that, subtle, precise, and never betraying you. That is the sixth sense. And it's still waiting for you to return and listen. There are enemies with no form, no name, no sound, yet they quietly control your life. They never show up in the open, never walk through the front door, Instead, they whisper through your mind when you're at your weakest. They murmur in your ear just as you're about to step outside your comfort zone. And the most dangerous part is you don't recognize their presence because you mistake them for parts of yourself.